Hello, everyone. I'm Marcus Kwesi from Nesson.com, here to talk about the New England Revolution, LA Galaxy, MLS Cup 2014. The MLS season just ended in triumph for the Galaxy and disappointment for the Revolution. Joining me today is Scott French. He's the LA Galaxy beat writer for MLSsoccer.com. How you doing, Scott?
Good. How are you doing, Marcus?
Very good, thanks. Now you were at the game out at the StubHub Center, and LA Galaxy, New England Revolution, always tense in the final. Somebody asked me, for a prediction, and I don't like to do them publicly, but I did say LA 2-1. Didn't see extra time coming, but I guess I should have. It's the third time it happened now.
Given the history, yeah.
Are you hearing that?
No, I'm not. It says my
So,
sound is.
Scott, what did you think? What did you think about the atmosphere? How it was?
You could feel how tense it was just walking in from the parking lot, and this is 2.5 hours before the game. I mean, there were people out there. There were thousands out there already when I got there, and it was really electric. And I think a lot of that is because you had. I mean, it was obviously a heavy Galaxy crowd, them being at home, but you had a lot
Sure.
of Revolution fans who traveled, and they were very vocal, and they were very upbeat, and it just made for a pretty incredible atmosphere. Actually, I thought it was the best atmosphere of the Galaxy finals we've seen at StubHub Center.
Right, and that was the third one. How do you feel about the choice to have the game not at a neutral venue but at the site of the team that has the most points in the regular season? I guess I was against it when they first made the switch, and to an extent I still am now, only because I used to really enjoy the neutral venue. It was a very organic MLS kind of feel to it, and a lot of events, a lot of supporters events during the week, in the week leading up to it. But it almost seems like the deck is being stacked now, giving one team the home team advantage, the home field advantage. Do you agree?
I kind of had the same feeling as you when it started. I was really against it, and I've kind of turned on that, and I think it's led to better atmospheres at the stadiums. It certainly does favor one team, and sometimes the difference between those teams in terms of points is really small. But I think the atmosphere is incredible. The biggest problem I have with it is that you can't plan on where you're going.
Right.
And sometimes, this time you didn't know until a week before the game, and trying to get airfares and set up travel and all of that in 3 days before you're going, it adds to the expense, and it really becomes a headache. So that's my biggest argument against it. But I think that the games themselves and the atmospheres in the stadiums have been better than they were when it was at neutral sites.
Sure, sure. And now this one, I'm thinking about the competition aspect of it. MLS Cup this year was tight, very competitive. I think everybody had the Galaxy as the either the decided favorite or the heavy favorite or the overwhelming favorite. But Revolution took them to extra time again. For me, the game, especially in the first half, really lacked quality. Didn't see the teams playing up to the level they had played at in the end of the regular season and the early rounds, and leading up to the big game. Why do you think that was?
Well, yeah, it's a good question. I thought both teams came out and they didn't pass the ball well, and that was the biggest thing. They were giving balls away that they really shouldn't have. I thought actually both teams defended well, but the fact that the attacks were not clicking certainly play into that. Um, Finals are so they're just so tense, and there's so much at stake, and I think sometimes you see teams that come out and it takes them a while to really get into it, and it took both of these teams a little longer than I expected to. But it was interesting, where the teams came into the final at, because the Galaxy have not played their best aside from the Real Salt Lake, the 5-0 game, they really haven't played their best since late September, early October. And the Revolution were coming in just on fire and playing so well. And I think that's part what made the game so dramatic in the second half is the Revolution had some real quality out there, and the Galaxy did well to match it. I don't think this was the Galaxy's best game, but they have a knack for pulling out games where they're not at their best.
Right, and that kind of comes down to the experience they have. I get the sense that MLS Cup is such a unique occasion for these players. I mean, they play 32 games in the regular season, 4 more in the playoffs, but there's nothing in the course of the year and in the course of the season where they're dealing with the pressure that comes, in a one-off game like this. Maybe if they make a final in the CONCACAF Champions League or something like that, but I don't think the players are used to playing under this kind of pressure. And, you almost saw, I've been watching the Revolution pretty closely lately, and I saw just a dip in performance from some of the players where, it just didn't match what they were doing. And I could only put it down to the pressure and them being inexperienced, never having played in MLS Cup before or a World Cup. I don't know how LA or how MLS can really add pressure situations, but I got the sense that it was overwhelming for some of the guys.
Well, it's also it's which team can best replicate just a normal week. You really need to approach it as, hey, this is another game. We just got to go out and do what we do. And I think that's what the Galaxy did. I think that gave them an advantage. I think the other part of it, and one reason why I think some guys for New England struggled, is that this Galaxy team is astounding. This is, in my view, this is the best team that ever has played in MLS. I don't think we saw that best team in the final, but over the course of the season we certainly did. And they were just so well balanced, and they had so much coming off the bench. And it made things difficult. I thought that you look at the job that Juninho and Sarvis did in central midfield, and for me, Sarvis was the real MVP of this game. They just did such a good job of making it so that Lee Nguyen did not have the kind of impact he usually has, and Jermaine Jones, I thought, looked very good in the first half. When the game wasn't flowing, he was the one guy who kind of was doing his best to try to create that flow, and little adjustments, and they kind of quieted him a little bit too. So I think the Galaxy had something to do with New England not quite being as crisp as perhaps they have been in recent weeks, and even then, New England still got, they had a couple of great chances in addition to the goal, but that was about it. They only had 3 or 4 really good chances, and that's it's how well you finish so few chances in these kind of games that determine how it goes.
Right. Now, I wanted to switch gears a little and go to the Landon Donovan story, which it dominated. It really dominated everything in the build up to the game, and Hollywood ending. I've said it time and time again. Best American player ever. Now he's got 6 championship rings, more than anyone. What's next for Landon Donovan? Do we know that? He's spoken about traveling and coaching and spending time with his family, but then there are also these whispers that, hey, maybe after a year or two he comes back and plays again. Do you see that happening?
I really don't, but at the same time, nothing would surprise me. Landon is wired differently from any other professional athlete I've ever dealt with. He's the sport, the game, what it is he does. That was not. It occupied an important part in his life, but it was not his entire life. And a lot of athletes, what they do on the field, that's their life. And
Sure.
And we see that a little bit with Robbie Keane. Robbie Keane was telling us the other day, "Oh, I'll never quit. I'm never going to step down. Once he can't go anymore, he will quit." But he has no plans to ever stop playing. Landon's just not that way. So I could see him coming back because of that. Say, I miss this. I want to do this again. But I think that it requires so much. What we see on TV and what we see of the players and what they have to do to be an athlete is only part of the picture. And the every single day, almost every single minute of your life is mapped out, and you've got to watch everything you eat. You have to make sure that you're doing the fitness, that the rest of us should be doing. But if we take a day off, oh well, and they can't do that. I think that really wears on some of these guys, and I know it wore on Landon. He was tired of not having his life, so to speak. So what he's going to do next, that's a good question. I think he's gonna do some travel and really reflect. I know he wants to work with kids, especially in terms of coaching. I would not be surprised to see him either with a position in the Galaxy Academy or as kind of a guy who stops in and coaches with the kids in the academy. I think it's really, I think he has a lot of different possibilities. I think he has a lot of different interests. And the guy's really, really bright. So I think he really could do, pretty much anything he wants to do.
Right. And I could see him kind of as an ambassador, a global ambassador. Yeah. Where, I don't think we've seen that in MLS where, the Galaxy, maybe they'll go to, far-flung places and put on a camp somewhere, but he would be the face of that. So, I don't see him going far. But it really is an end of it's an end of an era.
It is. I mean, when Landon started with the national team, we were still kind of in those post '94 infancy, and
right.
and in his time with the team, and it's certainly not all about him, but he played such a significant role. We've grown as a soccer country. We've grown as a national team. The league has grown into a yes, it's still losing money, but it's grown into a self-sustaining enterprise. We've just seen a complete change in what the soccer culture is like in this country during his time, and you got to give him a lot of credit for it.
Right. Now, how did the Galaxy replace him? What's next for the LA Galaxy? They can sign 1,000 different players for big money, and I'm sure they'd love to come into LA. But there's no guarantee that you have that the replacement will have that impact where he comes in best 11, title challenger every year, MVP candidate. I think it'll be hard for the Galaxy to replace him. I'm not sure how they can, only because he was kind of money in the bank for that team.
That was something that we were asking guys, especially the coaching staff, President Chris Klein, at the Galaxy celebration on Monday night in Hermosa Beach. What do you do now? What do you do with Landon? And it's you don't replace Landon. You can't find another Landon. So you find somebody else who's really, really high quality, and you adjust. And the Galaxy, Philip Anschutz has given them the support, and the money to go after guys that a lot of clubs in this league wouldn't go after. Robbie Keane was saying the day before the final that so many players over in England have told him, hey, I want to come to MLS and I want to come now. So there are guys out there that are available that could step in and really have an impact in this league. The two names that have been mentioned in the media in Europe are Andrea Pirlo, who was first mentioned, I think, back in August or September, and Steven Gerrard. And if either of those guys were to come into the Galaxy, I mean, the impact they could make is astounding. They're both older players, but look at Robbie Keane. He's 34, and is there a better player in MLS than Robbie Keane? I don't know that there's ever been a better player in MLS than Robbie Keane. I think the Galaxy are going to be okay. I think they're going to be a little bit different because they won't have Landon. But they also need to look at that age factor because they've got a number of players that are over 30, including Keane. If they bring in, a 32-year-old European player, there would be another. You've got Sarvis. You've got on the back line Todd Donovan and Dan Gargan. There's a few others coming off the bench, and Alan Gordon, for instance. And some of these guys are available in today's expansion draft. So we'll see, if they're still with the team tomorrow. But I think that's one of the things. They have a lot of good young talent. Some of it is still kind of building to where it can make an impact in the league. We saw Gyasi Zardes do that this year, but there's a lot of other players that are just beneath them with some incredible talent. I mean, when Mendiola is finally playing for the first team, I mean, the kid's magic at times. They've got a transition coming up, and I think it's going to be very interesting to watch what the Galaxy are in the next year or two, how they make that transition out of Landon, kind of the same way that they had to transition out of Beckham. When Beckham retired, they went from being a kind of a direct team and started evolving into this possession team they've become this year. Now with Landon leaving, they're going to have to make another evolution, and what exactly that's going to be, we're not sure. We're going to see that, and probably until we know who they're bringing in, it's all kind of guesswork.
Right. Now I wanted to pivot back to the East Coast here, and the Revolution there. It came so close, but I say they're primed to make another run next season.
Oh yeah.
Assuming key guys stay healthy and they keep the right mentality and the right approach going. The Revolution are young. They're definitely hungry, and I think this particular group they're going to be keen to be that first Revolution title-winning team, because there are now 5 that have come close and not quite gotten there yet, and that's something that it's got to hang over. On the one hand, it's something the organization can be proud of, but it's also a big carrot just right in front of them, of being that first team. So it depends on how the expansion draft is going to work out, how it's going to play out. That's in a couple hours, and if they can add and really add another piece and push forward, and certain guys continue developing, certain guys keep their level. I see the Revolution coming, making another deep playoff run next season, and in the years to come.
It's always one of the, at the start of every season, we're asked, hey, what are your predictions for the year? Throw out your predictions. Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? And it's nearly impossible because so many teams, you don't know what they're going to look like in August. Rosters change, everything changes. It's complete guesswork.
Right.
But if I had to guess on an MLS Cup final for next year, for me, it's New England against Seattle. And when New England finally does win a title, just how great is that going to feel for the Revolution fans, having gone through 5 of these? It is so tough to get to the final again and again and lose. But as you say, it's such an accomplishment to have been there 5 times. I mean, that speaks volumes about how great a franchise the Revolution have been at times during their span. But this particular team they're young, but they've got that veteran leadership where they need it. And Jermaine Jones's addition, it changed the dynamic. Oh, and if you can hear that, my lawn service is right outside my window right now. It's they've decided this is the best time to do it.
All right.
This is a Revolution team that's going to be really good for a few years, and really should be challenging for championships. And when you think about this core group that's been together and the lineup they've had together, it's really only been a couple of months. It took them a while to put all the pieces into place and to get everybody where they want them on the field and to build that chemistry. And now they've had these few months together, a full season together like that. I mean, once we get to September and October next year, they might be the team that everyone's talking about to win the championship.
Right, and the level of consistency they found at the end of this season. I mean, you have to start thinking about them as a possible Supporters Shield contender.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But that really comes with keeping key guys and then making the right additions and the right tweaks and really pushing forward, or as they like to say overseas, kicking on, because it is a moment where the Revolution they captured some attention, certainly in this market, where the question was asked if what effect winning a championship and building a stadium would have on their, could they take a place in this sports crazed city? Newsflash: the Revolution have had a place in this city for some time now, and it's really it's a matter of giving those fans that have been here and that are already here, and the players and the coaches and everyone connected with the organization, something to celebrate. But when they talk about will it join will it overtake? The Revolution won't be bigger than the Patriots. They won't be bigger than the Red Sox, Celtics, or Bruins anytime soon. But their place in the sports scene here, it's secure, and it's been secure since they were putting 20,000 fans a week in at the old Foxborough Stadium. But I think this team that they built over the years, and I talk about the management, Jay Heaps and Mike Burns and Brian DeLello. They deserve a lot of credit because they turned this thing around from where it was at the end of Steve Nichols' tenure. And he had all those great teams, but at the end of the 2011 season, they were rock bottom. 2012 was tough, but 3 years after naming Jay Heaps head coach, they're 9 minutes away from penalty kicks and possibly MLS Cup glory. It's really it's phenomenal how they've done it, and it's we've seen in MLS over the years that with the right moves and the right decisions, you can turn things around really, really quickly.
And you also see you see that 3-year mark. That it generally takes, if you're building from scratch or you're really rebuilding from scratch, it takes about 3 years. We saw that with Ziggy Schmidt in Columbus. It's the 3rd year that they won the championship. Last year's Revolution team was really good, especially at the end of the season, and I think people had an eye out for them this year. And if not for that losing streak there in the middle of summer, I don't think this would have been such a surprise when they kind of made this run, because I think people were surprised to see the Revolution there. I think a lot of us figured, hey, Kansas City's going to come out of this funk, and they're going to be tough to beat come playoff time, and we didn't see that. But the Revolution just got better and better as the pieces fell into place. And one thing to watch for next season is also how many guys this year had career years. Are they going to get better? And that's a real key part of it, because if Lee Nguyen can do what he did this year next year, hey, this team's tough to beat. Right. But if Lee Nguyen's not quite up to the level next year, well, that impacts this team. So there's a lot of moving pieces, but I think that they're in place for this to be one of the real powerhouses. I really think, going into next season, the teams to watch really are New England, and then just because they came so close again, and they've got such a great team, Seattle. And I think it'll be interesting to see if the Galaxy can kind of keep pace with them, given some of the changes they're going to have to make.
Sure. I want to take just one question from that we have on Twitter. This is from Mark LaRoque he's in Taunton, Mass. He asks, how do you think ownership, and this is Revs ownership, will move forward having lost their 5th MLS final, complacent or ambitious? That's a good question. I have a feeling they're going to leave it up to the three amigos, Heaps, Burns, and DeLello, to make the right call. And if they say, hey, we need we need this particular player at this position at this salary number. I think having seen the effect that Jermaine Jones's addition had on the team. You know, I don't see why they would say no, we have to stop here, or let's rein in the purse strings. But you know, I don't necessarily gauge ambition by spending per se, because we've seen a lot of teams just spend and then you know, they stay at their same level, or sometimes they get worse. So you know, I think they're keen ownership to get over that championship hump, and I think whatever you know, whatever management says they need to do, I think they've earned that trust, and they have that trust in the ownership.
Yeah, and I think the ownership is, if anything, hungrier. You know, they came so close again. They know they've got a great team. It's good ownership. This is one of the best ownership groups in the league. And they do have the right people in place to make the decisions. I mean, we've seen what Jay Heaps does. He's a very smart guy. I've known Mike Burns for years. Mike's a bright guy who knows this game, and they are, you know, I talked to Mike a little bit outside the locker room after the game, and you know, there was real disappointment there that they didn't quite get there, but that just breeds hunger, and they know they're so close. I think this team really pushes, and the ownership's going to provide the support that's needed to get these guys what they need in order to put all the pieces together again next year. I think ownership is going to be really key to New England's success over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see how complacency can set in, because you can, you know, the Revolution are at the I would say maybe year 2, and they're at the start of a winning cycle, which could run, you know, as long as the one that ran in the mid 2000s, which you know, essentially is from 2002 to about 2008, where you know, they were challenging year in and year out. I see them being on the cusp of another one of those just winning periods and bright periods in the franchise.
Well, and another thing that's you know, the Crafts, obviously they experienced championships with the Patriots.
Right.
They know what it is. They know what's needed to win a championship. They want championships. They play for championships, and I think they expect the Revolution to play for championships. And the moves they've made the last couple of years, bringing Jay in, you know, setting up the structure so that they've got the right people in place to be making the soccer decisions. They've made really wise choices. They want a championship as much as the fans do, if not more, and they're going to do whatever they can to get that championship.
Right, I agree. Well, Scott, we're actually out of time now, so thank you for joining me for this. Thanks for coming on. Always informative, and that was great work you did for us out in MLS Cup.
Oh, well, thank you. It's always nice to be writing about soccer. I mean, really, I do what I love. I wish I were better paid for doing it, but I'd rather enjoy what I do than do something I hate and be paid more.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right, Scott. Well, thanks very much, and thanks all you for watching and listening.
Thank you, Marcus.
All right,
bye, guys.
Care.